Wife gave me divorce papers on Christmas Eve and family cheered on her decision. I left an envelope. Please stay with me as I tell my story. And please, do not forget to support our channel by subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and sharing your loved one. Your support means the world to us. Now to our story. MPO. Her smile was calm, like nothing was wrong. The fireplace glowed, the tree lights twinkled, and holiday music played softly in the background. It should have been a peaceful night. Everyone had a drink in their hand. Laughter filled the room. We had just finished dinner. Plates were being cleared. And then she handed me a box, wrapped neatly with a bow. I thought it was a watch, maybe something meaningful. We'd been married 7 years. Despite our recent silence, I still believed she cared. But when I opened it, it wasn't a gift. It was a thick envelope, my name on the front. I pulled it out and saw 2 words, divorce agreement. For a second, no one said a thing. Then her father stood up and clapped. Her mother followed. My brother, sitting across the room, gave her a thumbs up. Her sister laughed. I sat there stunned, trying to understand what just happened. That's when I knew. It wasn't sudden. They'd all known. They planned this together. They timed it for tonight. On Christmas Eve, I looked around at people I once considered family. The same people who smiled in our wedding photos, who gave toasts, who hugged me. They were all in on it. My brother, the one I helped when he lost his job, smirked at me like it was a joke. I could feel the blood leave my face. My hands were cold. My heart pounded, not from sadness, but from the weight of betrayal. She didn't say a word, just smiled, like she had won something. But I didn't say anything either. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just reached into my coat pocket and pulled out an envelope of my own. Smaller, thinner, but packed with far more power. I placed it on the table in front of her. She frowned, confused. She reached for it slowly. Inside was everything. Copies of her texts, photos of her with him, bank statements, and a letter from my lawyer outlining how she'd broken every clause in our prenup. The man she left me for? Married. With kids. I'd already let his wife know. Quietly. Legally. No noise. Just truth. Her smile faded. Her hands shook. And for the first time that evening, the room went quiet again. This time, they weren't clapping. I stood up, fixed my coat, and walked out. No anger. No goodbyes. Just peace. Because sometimes the most painful betrayal leads to the most powerful exit. We had been together for 7 years, and from the outside, everything looked perfect. Friends would always comment on how lucky we were. People said we were goals. They saw our smiling photos on social media, the vacation shots, the matching holiday sweaters, the dinners out, and the new SUV in the driveway. We had a nice house in a quiet neighborhood, a dog that acted like a child, and 2 good careers. It was the kind of life people imagined when they thought of the American dream. But a perfect photo doesn't mean a perfect life. Things started to shift in small, quiet ways. She used to leave her phone lying around. Now, it was always face down. Password changed. Always in her hand or tucked away. She used to be home for dinner by 6. Then it became 7. Then 9. The excuses were always the same. Work ran late, traffic was bad, or had to help a coworker. At first, I believed her. Because I wanted to. I told myself she was just tired, that the job was stressful, that she'd come back to herself soon. I ignored the signs, the sudden nights out with the girls, the unexplained credit card charges, the fact that she barely looked at me anymore when we talked. And when she did, something felt off. Her words were fine, but her eyes said she was somewhere else. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I stayed calm. I watched. I waited. I didn't accuse her of anything. I didn't start a fight. I just began to notice more. Late-night texts that made her smile. Quick screen taps when I entered the room. The smell of a different cologne on her clothes. I started keeping track, quietly. Bank records. Call logs. Email receipts. I took photos of the little things. I stored everything in a folder on a hidden drive. It felt like spying. It felt wrong. But something inside me whispered that I was right. My heart didn't want to accept it. But my gut had already moved on to acceptance. The woman I thought I knew had been slipping away for months, maybe longer. And the truth is, I didn't know when she started lying. I just knew she was. The saddest part? I didn't even ask her about it. Because deep down, I knew that when the truth came out, it would come from her. Not in words, but in action. And it did. On Christmas Eve. Wrapped like a gift. It didn't stop at cheating. It wasn't just a secret fling or a mistake she regretted. She was building something. A new life. With someone else. While still sleeping next to me. While still saying, I love you out of habit. While still letting me carry the weight of our shared life. Bills. Chores. Loyalty. All while she was planning a quiet exit with him. The man she was seeing wasn't some random stranger either. He was familiar. A mutual connection from her work events. A guy who always seemed a little too friendly when I shook his hand. A man with a good job, a polished look, and a wife who probably thought she had a perfect marriage too. just like I did. But what shattered me even more wasn't just her betrayal. It was how many others helped her do it. Her parents had known. She told them early on. Her mom even gave her advice on how to handle the divorce to make sure she got what she deserved. Her dad? He called me too passive, said she needed someone more driven. This was before I even saw the papers, before I knew they'd already picked out an apartment for her and her new man. And my brother, my own blood, he helped cover her tracks, told me she was with her co-workers when I started getting suspicious. He knew. He lied to my face more than once. I found messages between them. My wife telling him, "Thanks for helping." He's clueless. My brother replying, "Just make sure you're happy. He'll get over it." They had a group chat without me. Plans were made. Vacations discussed. Holiday gatherings where I wasn't even invited, and no one thought it was strange. They made me the outsider in my own family. I looked at photos on Facebook and realized I had been erased long before she handed me those papers. Even her sister played a part. Pretended to ask how I was doing, pretended to care. Meanwhile, she was texting updates to my wife right after our conversations. He still doesn't suspect anything. I think he's starting to feel it though. They treated it like a game. I was the last to know in a life I thought I shared with someone I trusted. They built their lies together, piece by piece, while I sat in the same house, thinking love was enough. But betrayal leaves a mark. Not just from the knife that stabbed, but from every hand that helped sharpen it. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I didn't even ask her why. I already knew. And instead of confronting her, I did something better. I stayed quiet. Every day felt like a performance. She smiled like nothing was wrong. I smiled back. We had dinner, talked about work, pretended like we were still a team. But under the surface, I was working. Not to save the marriage, but to protect myself. I started with the money. Quietly moved parts of my savings to an account only I had access to. Closed the joint credit card we never really used. Updated my login info for all the important things. She didn't notice, she wasn't looking. She was too busy planning her exit. At night, after she went to bed, I copied everything I could. Photos of her with him. Messages on her iPad she forgot to log out of. Her flight details for a trip she said was work-related, but wasn't. I backed it all up, twice. One copy went to a folder on a cloud account she didn't know about. The other? A USB drive I kept at work. I hired a lawyer too. Paid in cash. We met in a coffee shop, not an office. He helped me go over the prenup, and it turned out she'd forgotten just how locked in it was. If she cheated, she lost most of what she thought she'd get. That clause? She signed it, smiling. At our wedding, while she thought she was being clever, I was already 3 steps into a plan. I started dropping tiny hints. Not enough to scare her, just enough to keep her overconfident. I'd ask small questions. Act curious. Say things like, "You've been tired lately. Is everything okay?" She'd wave it off, thinking I was still blind. She was comfortable. Too comfortable. Sometimes, I'd even bring her coffee or cook dinner just to keep the act going. I wanted her to believe she still had control. Because people only get sloppy when they think they've won. And she was starting to get real sloppy. She left her phone unlocked once. I didn't touch it. Just glanced and walked away. I wanted her to know I could have looked. That I chose not to. That's the kind of move that makes people feel untouchable. But deep down, I knew what was coming. I could see the cracks forming in her lies. The fake smiles. The sudden silence when her phone buzzed. I wasn't waiting for her to break the news. I was waiting to deliver mine. She handed me the envelope like it was a gift. Wrapped neatly, tucked inside a red box with silver ribbon. The whole room watched. Her parents, her siblings, my own brother. I thought maybe it was a card or something sentimental. But the second I opened it, I saw the truth. Divorce papers. Signed, dated, already processed. All I had to do was agree. For a moment, no one spoke. Then came the clapping. Her father started it, like it was a celebration. Her sister smiled wide. My brother raised his glass, proud. The room felt cold, like the warmth of Christmas had just been sucked out of the air. They expected me to fall apart. Maybe cry. Maybe shout. Maybe run. But I didn't. I stayed still. Then I reached into my jacket. My hands didn't shake. I had rehearsed this moment in my mind too many times. The envelope I handed her wasn't wrapped, wasn't colorful. Just plain, white and serious. She looked confused as she took it. Her smile faded slightly. Her fingers hesitated at the flap. Inside was everything. The first page? A timeline. Dates, places, receipts. Then came the printed emails between her and the man she thought no one knew about. The flirty ones, the intimate ones, and the ones where she talked about me, like I was nothing. I made sure to highlight the one where she wrote, "He won't see this coming." After that came the legal letter. A full counter-response. My lawyer had prepared it weeks ago. She thought she'd take half. She thought she'd get support. She forgot about the prenup we signed in a rush before the wedding, when love made everything feel safe and simple. Page 3 was a copy of that prenup, with her signature, clearly visible, and the clause that said cheating voided all claims to spousal support or shared retirement. Her hands trembled now. The room fell silent again. I saw her eyes scan each page, fast at first, then slower as the weight of it landed. She looked up at me like she didn't recognize who I was, but I had never been more myself than in that moment. She thought I'd be broken. I was prepared. "Merry Christmas," I said. Just those 2 words. Then I stood up, buttoned my coat, and left. No drama. No insults. No need to say more. Everything I wanted to say was already written down, page by page, and sitting in her hands. Let them sit with that. She didn't say a word. Just stood there holding the envelope like it was burning her hands. Her eyes scanned the pages over and over, as if reading them again would change what was written. But it wouldn't. It was all there, the truth she thought she'd buried. And then she broke. She stormed out of the room, past the Christmas lights and the shocked faces, covering her face with one hand as tears spilled down. The door slammed behind her. The sound echoed through the room. The silence that followed was heavier than anything I've ever felt. No one said a word at first. Her mother looked down. Her father shifted in his seat. Her sister opened her mouth, then closed it again. And my brother? He tried to speak. "Man, maybe we can talk about this," he began. But I was done talking. I pulled out my phone, opened the group chat they thought I didn't know about, and hit send. One message. Attached were the screenshots, the emails, the flight confirmations, the prenup clause. I added one line. "I may have been the last to know, but I'll be the first to recover." No one replied. No one dared to. I looked at each of them, one by one. No anger. No begging. Just clarity. I had nothing left to prove. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I didn't cry. I just walked over to the coat rack, picked up my leash, and called for my dog. She trotted over to me, tail wagging, clueless to the chaos she'd just witnessed. The same dog my wife said she was going to keep in the divorce. The one she said wouldn't miss me anyway. Wrong again. With one hand on the door, I turned back once, just to take a mental picture of the scene. The stunned faces. The tree glowing in the corner. The gifts that would never be opened. The silence. Then I walked out. I didn't take much. Just my car keys, my bag, my dog, and my peace. They thought I'd be broken. That I'd fall apart, beg her to stay, ask for a second chance. But what they didn't understand was, I'd already had my breakdown. Quietly, weeks ago. Alone. And once you've already cried all the tears, there's nothing left to break. Only space to rebuild. So I walked away. Not empty, but finally free. After that night, I disappeared. No angry posts. No long rants. I didn't explain myself online. I just vanished. Deleted every photo. Changed my number. Moved to a different city without telling anyone. The silence did the talking for me. They waited for a reaction. Some loud response. Some proof I was crushed. But I gave them nothing. And in that silence, their world began to crack. Her affair partner, this guy she risked everything for, turned out to be nothing special. Once he realized I wasn't going to pay for anything, he pulled away fast. He liked her when she was the wife of a man with a future. Not when she was alone and looking for someone to rescue her. He stopped answering her calls. Blocked her number. Just like that, he was gone. She tried to hold it together. Posted happy photos. Pretended life was great. But mutual friends started talking. Word got around. People asked questions. The truth has a way of leaking out, drop by drop. Her family, the ones who clapped that night, weren't ready for the fallout. The shame hit them hard. Her mom didn't want to face her church friends. Her dad lost face with his business partners. They turned on each other. Argued about who knew what, who should have stopped it, who pushed her into the affair. They thought they were helping her. Now they were embarrassed by her. And my brother? I couldn't let him walk away clean. He chose a side. Lied to me. Played me like a fool. So I did what needed to be done, quietly. He always bragged about being clever with his taxes. Little tricks here and there. Deductions that didn't add up. So I gathered what I knew. Sent an anonymous report. Just a few tips to the right agency. 3 months later, he got audited. I didn't hear it from him, of course. But someone we both knew let it slip. He was stressed. Losing sleep. The money he saved by cheating the system? Now being paid back, with interest. I didn't smile. Didn't celebrate. Just noted it and moved on. The best revenge wasn't noise. It wasn't chaos. It was control. Every move I made was quiet. Focused. Thought out. They had taken everything they thought I valued. But they forgot what mattered most. My peace. And now they were watching their lives bend under the weight of their own choices, while I rebuilt mine, brick by brick, far away from the mess they made. A few months passed, and I stayed quiet. No messages. No updates. No drama. I lived my life, kept my head down, and let them think I'd moved on completely. But sometimes, silence is just the space where a storm gathers strength. Then I heard the news. she had a new fiancé. Fast. Too fast. He worked at a respected firm, wore suits every day, and came from a family that cared a lot about appearances. The kind of guy who checked boxes. Stable, clean-cut, image-obsessed. Exactly the type she could charm if she played the victim well enough. But I knew better, and I still had the screenshots. Not just of the affair. Those were old news. What I had were her private texts to friends, bragging about how easily she could twist men around her finger. Messages like, "Once he proposes, I'll make sure he signs whatever I want," and "He thinks I'm innocent. He has no clue." I gathered them into a neat little file. Printed. No edits. No added drama. Just the facts in her own words. Then I wrote a short, simple letter. No threats. No demands. Just a note. You deserve to know who she really is. These are her words, not mine. I sealed the envelope and mailed it directly to her fiancé's office. No return address. No signature. Just truth. A week later, she was single again. Not only did he dump her, but the company she worked for, one that prided itself on moral values, decided she no longer fit their image. Apparently, screenshots of her mocking clients and using them for personal gain didn't sit well with HR. Reputation mattered in her work, and now hers was ruined. She tried to do damage control, but it was too late. People talk, and once trust is gone, there's no getting it back. I didn't have to say a word. She knew it was me. She called from a blocked number a few days after it all came crashing down. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, just heavy breathing, then a quiet whisper. Why? She didn't deserve a reply. Because it wasn't revenge out of rage. It wasn't to hurt her. It was balance. Justice. A final message. She played games. I just finished the scorecard. And sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make isn't loud. It's letting someone destroy everything they built, on lies, and knowing you simply handed them a mirror. After everything, I didn't jump into a new relationship. I didn't go out partying or try to prove anything to anyone. I just focused on rebuilding myself, from the inside out. First, I went to therapy. No shame, no hesitation. I needed to talk, to unpack what I'd carried for years. The betrayal, the anger, the shame, the self-doubt. I let it all out. Week after week, I peeled back the layers. It hurt, but it also healed. Slowly, I started feeling like myself again, only stronger. Then I hit the gym. Not to impress anyone, not to post shirtless pictures online, just to feel better. Clearer mind, stronger body. Every rep was like reclaiming a part of me I thought I lost. I wasn't punishing myself. I was building something new. And it showed. I also started a small side business, something I'd dreamed of doing for years, but never had time for while playing the role of the perfect husband. I put in the work, built it quietly, and watched it grow. No social media posts, no bragging, just quiet progress day after day. I didn't need the world to clap for me, but still word got around. Mutual friends started dropping hints. She's been asking about you. I think she's watching your stories. Turns out, she had burner accounts. Multiple, following people close to me, clicking through my updates, watching from the shadows. I didn't block her. I could have, but I wanted her to see. Not to make her jealous, but to show her what healing looks like. What peace looks like when you choose it. Me walking through new cities, smiling with real friends, working late, not because I had to, but because I loved what I was building. Me standing in the sun instead of hiding in the pain. Every photo told a story, not one of revenge, but of rise. And I could feel it. The shift. The control that had once been taken from me, it was back in my hands, quietly, powerfully. She tried to burn my world down. Instead, she lit a fire under the version of me I had forgotten existed. No flashy comeback, no loud announcement, just calm strength, clear direction. Because revenge isn't always about destruction. Sometimes, it's about growth so undeniable that the ones who doubted you can't look away. She watches. And I live. Last week, a plain envelope showed up in my mailbox. No name, no return address. Just my first name written in a handwriting I hadn't seen in months, but instantly recognized. I stood there holding it for a while. It felt strange, heavy in a way that had nothing to do with the paper inside. Part of me thought about throwing it away without reading it, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. No long apology. No drawn-out explanation. Just a single card. And inside, written in small, careful letters, were 3 simple words. You were right. That was it. I stared at those words for a moment, not because they shocked me, but because they didn't. I was right. About her. About them. About everything. She didn't say sorry. Didn't ask for forgiveness. She probably couldn't. Or maybe she thought those 3 words were enough. But the truth is, I didn't need her apology anymore. I didn't need closure from her. I had already made peace without it. I smiled. Not because I was happy she was hurting, but because I realized how far I'd come. That small note reminded me of who I used to be. The man who would have done anything to make things work, even with someone who had already walked away. I wasn't that man anymore. I picked up the card, walked to the shredder, and fed it through. Slowly, carefully, not out of anger, not out of spite, but because I didn't need her validation. Revenge wasn't the envelope I gave her on Christmas Eve. It wasn't the screenshots or the silence or even the collapse of her new life. It was this, the man I had become since. The man who healed. The one who didn't need to hurt her to feel strong. The one who built a better life, not to prove a point, but because he finally believed he deserved it. She once thought she broke me. She didn't. She revealed me. And that's something no envelope, no card, no words can ever take back.